what I am liking about Dutton's speeches, and I thought the one in Brisbane was a mile in front of the one that was in Melbourne, and the Melbourne one was pretty good, right? Which is starting to talk about broad values, right? Now, as I've said, the experiment of Daniel Andrews and Palaszczuk and all of that, right, which is if you either work for the government or you're dependent on the government or your biggest customer is the government, you end up locking about 75% of the people in, and therefore any mention of pullback, well, then people start to set their hair on fire. What have you thought of these speeches that Dutton's been making?
Look, I've been watching them very closely. I think that he is on a winner here. I think the broad theme here is that he is falling in line with other centre-right leaders in the West and in the English-speaking world. And that is, the thing is strategically here for him. He can come up with policies, but they will be meta-scared to death, right? So anything he wants to do, they're going to blow him up on the policy. But Labor can't fight on a positive, productive, prosperous vision of Australia because they want a dependent, negative view of Australia and Australian possibilities. That's why the best Albanese can do is say, oh, well, we're a caring society, but that's not a productive or a prosperous society, and those are the things you need to ultimately really be truly caring.
Well, Dutton, in the speech in Brisbane, specific quote here I want to say, these are the three questions. Are you better off than you were 2.5 years ago? Do you feel safer than you were 2.5 years ago? Is the country more cohesive than it was 2.5 years ago? Well, no, right? We all know what the answers are and all of that. Matt, about where I was on these imported Chinese products made by the forced labour in these Uyghur camps, why can't Australia take the same position that even Joe Biden could come to, which is, no, this stuff's not allowed in?
Well, we can. In fact, Senator Ralph Babette asked a very good question of Penny Wong about this just over 2 years ago, actually, in September 2022. He asked her, well, look, Joe Biden's banned these solar companies for using slave labour. Why can't we do the same? Penny Wong actually said it was a very good question. And she said, look, this was in the newly elected. And she said, unlike the former government, we're going to look at the Modern Slavery Act to do this and make sure no one's using forced labour in their supply chains. Well, of course, as The Guardian has shown, and congrats to The Guardian, you won't hear me say that too often, but congrats to The Guardian. It's an excellent piece of work. But they've done nothing on this, despite Penny Wong's statements. And here you've got a situation where I think the Labor Party can't do this because it is addicted to the cheap forced labour-produced, slave labour-produced solar panels out of the Xinjiang province of China.
Yep.
Its whole energy plan it rests on the fact of getting these cheapest in the world solar panels made by slave labour. How can that be ethical at all? It doesn't even deliver us cheap prices, as we know, for other reasons. But even if it did, we can't do that. Why are we doing that as a civilised country?
So, while simultaneously China, that produces many more, 30 more times pollution than we do, they don't even have to start to adhere to the same things we've signed up to till 2030. So that gets back to the Paris conversation. Thank you, lads.